Okay, we're gonna get started. Hi everyone, my name is Avika and I am the Chief Operating Officer at the Steamboat. For those of you who don't know, we interview various students who have showcased an interest in STEAM and or leadership through exceptional means. I am pleased to announce our next student, Anika Verma. Before we get started, Anika, would you like to introduce yourself a little?
My name is Anika Verma and I live in Maryland, USA. And I'm really passionate about STEM. I'm part of various STEM organizations and activities, and I'm glad to be here today.
Okay, that's great. That was a great introduction. Could you mind telling us a little bit about like the activities you do?
I'm start by my club. So as a freshman this year, I started a club called STEM Roots, and we provide STEM kits to middle school. We host competitions and fairs. So we're hoping to host a like science fair kind of thing, but for STEM in the month of March, and people will bring in their project, and then we'll have judges and speakers, and they'll get to talk about their experiences. And on the same side, we're also working on making little project kits for elementary schoolers, and we'll go there one day. We still have to book the school and things like that. And we'll go there, give the kids, have a little presentation, have some other clubs at our high school, like the robotics team, come and talk about what they do, and give the little children have a chance to get into the STEM field. I am also part of STEM Today, which is an organization that posts information about STEM and research like that. We also do like tutoring and things like that. I'm the linguistic lead for Hindi, which is my mother tongue, and I translate all English articles into Hindi and then post them on an Instagram that I manage. So these are like two leadership positions I have in the STEM kind of based organizations. I also write articles for this organization called STEM Unites. So they give us a topic that we have to research. Then I write a little quick blurb about that and go from there.
That sounds great. Wow. So we're gonna start right off. As everybody watching has already gathered, Anika is an amazingly dedicated student who has shown so much passion for STEM awareness and especially with your organization STEM Roots. Um, so Anika, the first question, what advice would you give to those who are looking to break out into the STEM field as a student?
Start as soon as possible. Don't wait to be like, oh, I have 4 years. I'll to start this later. Well, I have 2 years. I'll start it in high school. I'll start it in middle school. Start whenever you feel you're ready. Whenever you know that you're interested, whenever you know this is something you want to try, even. It doesn't have to guarantee that you're going to do this. Start, move into organizations, find things you like, try as many things that you're able to do, and don't like put yourself into one place. Like if you were interested in science, don't just say, oh, I'm not going to join another like math club or something. Let yourself try different things and be aware of like all the opportunities you have. Like I'm part of various different STEM clubs. Some of them do similar things, but it's not like I'm not joining them because it gives me an opportunity for growth, and I get to learn how different organizations work, how they like to do their things, which has eventually also helped me start my own club. So I think it's very important that you start and branch out and look for all these organizations, look at their Instagram accounts, look, research on Google or something like that. Go around and like broaden your horizons, kind of.
Definitely, that's so important starting early because competition will only increase as the time progresses. What do you believe is the best way to network with professionals and experts in the STEM field to like get your foot in the door?
Send emails. Just send emails to anybody you know. And maybe you'll think it's odd, that you're going to email someone you've never talked to before, but nothing can go wrong. Like a simple email cannot end the world. So if you want an internship at a hospital, like in Maryland, John Hopkins, many people may have heard of, high schoolers can internship there, and you sometimes need recommendation from employees that work there. So if you know like a friend or someone else that's working at a place that you want to intern at and their parents are there, just send them emails, tell them that, hey, I'm this passionate, link your resume link, talk a little bit about yourself, and ask them, hey, can I get an internship here, or can I work here? Just be open to reach out to anybody. Don't like feel scared. Don't feel like, oh no, if I reach out with a cold email to someone I don't know, I'm like this weird person, because they get emails on daily basis.
Yeah.
Also, make sure you send the emails at the right time. If you're sending, so make sure you send it either like right before going to bed, so it will be top of their inbox list, because all adults and all professionals get hundreds of emails each day and you want yours to be on top. So around 7:50 in the morning is also a great time because most people will check their inboxes
Hmm.
around like 8
Definitely.
o'clock. So make sure you get your email in at the right time. Also, branch out to your friends. Don't be afraid to ask your friends' parents or a person in your school and you know their parents, anybody like that. If you know they work in a field or if you like have long lost connections to someone, don't feel scared to ask because this is your only opportunity and it's not going to ever hurt to ask for help or guidance.
Yeah, definitely. I totally agree, especially with communication. Emails are so important. They've helped me get internships, they've helped me almost secure jobs. Like, it's so important. I wanted to ask, like, you talked about starting an organization. What are some challenges you have faced with starting and how have you combated them?
So first was just getting it approved. That was a very big challenge. My Even though we hardly have any STEM clubs at my school, the teacher that approves them or like sends the form to get approved, she was like, "Oh, we already have these kind of clubs. It's already there." And I had to explain to her, prove to her why we had nothing like this at our school, why we didn't have any STEM organizations. I had to come with to her, talk to her like every week basically to
Hmm.
make sure that she sends the form. And then after the form was sent, we had Thanksgiving break. So she completely forgot about it. And that was also a
Oh
challenge
no.
because she has a lot of work. And I completely understand that as a teacher, as a worker, you have a lot of responsibilities, but you just have to stay persistent, keep asking, keep asking. Then I finally got the form approved. And now the problem was trying to find like a sponsor, a teacher who's willing to dedicate their time to hosting it. So I was able to get that. So that was a little challenging.
Hmm.
Afterwards was like advertising, making sure people wanted to join because a club with two people is not going to run. So I had to advertise, tell my friends, offer leadership positions, and eventually we were able to get like a few students. And now we're facing the difficulty of getting a location to host our fair, like I talked about earlier. It's
Hmm.
the forms, the same communication problem. And we understand that everybody has responsibilities, but it's also a commitment to just like keep asking, keep asking.
Hmm.
Fundraising is also pretty challenging in like getting the money to make these STEM kits, to buy the supplies necessary. And like, even if it's just from paper bags or to like expensive stuff like pH paper,
Uh-huh.
filter paper, those are really hard things to find. And we need people who will donate their money or time to research, buy materials. So that's been a challenge that I've been trying to get over, reaching out to as many people I know for like popsicle sticks and things like that.
Yeah, definitely. I totally understand. I think especially with the planning the event, it is so hard. I have dealt with the same thing. It's definitely really hard, but it's great that you're kind of trying to combat that. So tell us one tip you would give those who are inspired to start a STEM organization as well.
Make sure you have people to support you. Make sure you have like a co-partner or co-founder. I didn't have one, and so that was challenging because none of
Mm-hmm.
my friends are that interested in STEM fields, and I wasn't very like well versed with other kids in other grades and their interests because my school is more into like just sports. Most of our clubs are dead at our school.
Same, yeah.
Kind of sad, but most of them are dead. We hardly win any awards or anything, but
Mm-hmm.
it was really hard to start without a co-founder, someone who wanted to put in as much dedication. Like, and when I hired like people for positions in my club, and I had a vice president too. She's a junior at this school, and I know she's committed and hardworking, but it's just hard when you're the only one who has the exact same passion for this. So make sure you find like a co-founder who's equally interested and equally wants to put the work in because it's a lot of work on yourself. You're just going to do it by yourself and you want to be able to bounce off ideas with someone else.
Yeah, definitely. I totally agree. I think definitely when you have like kind of someone you can split the workload with, it's definitely so much easier and more efficient.
Yeah.
So you are a student and a founder, which is really hard. Your schedule must be really hectic. So how do you manage your school and extracurriculars?
Um, I make sure I get my schoolwork done first. The clubs are always second priority because I want to make sure my grades, my GPA, that should be the first important thing. Like
Mm-hmm.
clubs are always second. Those are the things you do for fun, the things you do for just like enhancing your skills. Making sure your grades are on top is the biggest thing. Also, don't delay projects. That's literally the worst idea possible. You can delay a homework assignment by 1 day. Don't delay starting a project because
Yeah.
you're not going to end up in the right place.
Mm-hmm.
Because we participate in this competition for history called National History Day, and it's a major competition like to make posters, outlines, all sorts of things. So I would suggest like get on those kind of things first. Make sure you do the hard stuff first. Like if you feel like, oh, I have this one sheet of math homework, this one online quiz I have to answer, and it's not going to take me too long, don't do that first. Because you know you'll do that eventually, no matter what. You can do it when you're in the car, when you're walking, you can do those kind of things. Then don't do that first because that's not should be on your top of your list. Things like a project that you have to turn in, it's a huge portion of your grade, should be always done first. So I always make sure I come home, do my homework first, then I start prioritizing. I make a list of all the clubs that I'm part of and what I need to do for each of them, and then I work from there.
That sounds great, very like well balanced routine. And also, I totally agree. Procrastination, I was talking about this before, it can definitely be really hard to work around. So just try not to procrastinate, especially with projects, you're right. So you were talking about getting good grades. What advice would you give about studying and getting good grades and scores to students like you who are like interested in doing other things, but also want to make sure grades are their priority?
So balance your time. Like I know that school doesn't come hard to me at all. Like doesn't take me much time to get my math homework done. Like I spend 10 minutes at it. I can finish it during PE class, health class. It doesn't take me at all anytime.
Mm-hmm.
So make sure you know yourself. Like if math is a challenging subject for you, it takes you 30 minutes a day, then and maybe all you find school hard, then don't join as many clubs as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Like don't fill up your schedule to the point where it's like breaking you. Fill it up
Yeah,
to the point that you're able to handle it and you're not just overdoing yourself because you want to be able to really express. Colleges aren't looking for someone who can just do everything, but able to do well in whatever they do. So make
that's
sure,
so right. Yeah.
yeah. So make sure you're getting whatever classes you're taking, whatever choices you make, whatever clubs you want to join, work hard and work committedly in them. Don't just join them to put it on your resume, put a little check
Mm-hmm.
mark. Join them so you do some change. And it's also important for your community. Like it's really nice if you're actually part of like this volunteer club and you're actually doing something rather than just sitting there standing around or not attending most of the meetings.
Mm-hmm. Definitely, totally agree. Quality over quantity always.
Yes.
So can you tell more about the goals and like the exact missions of your organization?
So it's mainly about like ending STEM disparities, kind of. So we reach out like our STEM kits, we're going to send them to elementary schools that don't have any STEM activities and don't do any STEM fairs. So we're going to reach out to those elementary schools specifically and have them give them the STEM kits. So those kids are encouraged. So because we have schools that have kids who are like already coding in elementary school, but then we also have schools in our county that kids aren't doing much, don't even know what STEM is, or
Mm-hmm.
hardly even care. So I think that's one of our major like target areas. And then with our STEM fair, same concept. We want to reach out. We're going to send our flyers first to the underprivileged and places that don't have like well funding. I personally live in an area that we just restricted to a school that was like extremely like STEM. But then just the year that I was going in, they changed our school to go make it into a school that doesn't like fund well for that. I mean, I was really passionate about STEM, so I did it outside of my school time, but I saw the kids there. None of them like some of them even wanted to do STEM things, but didn't know where to start, where to go.
Mm-hmm.
Many of them didn't have enough money, and like I could see the conditions there versus like where I would have initially gone. And then when I came back into my high school with the kids that like came from that school, came to my school, and I saw the difference, like the gap between
Uh-huh.
what was happening, and that really like sparked my interest, really made me like actually see what the difference is between two different schools within the same county. It's like really
Mm-hmm.
surprising how funding can be so different within literally places that are 15 minutes apart.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's really that's like what made me really passionate into like this field. And that's why I'm trying to send these STEM kids, host these fairs for those kids who aren't that into those fields.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. And I love that you're nurturing underprivileged kids because you never know. That could be the next most amazing neurosurgeon or astrophysicist. And the fact that you're nurturing them and pushing them to do their goals with resources is amazing.
Thank you.
So how did you gather support and interest from your peers? And like, how did you gather student interest to start the organization?
I put my dignity aside and I sent text to every single person in my contact list that was in my school. If I didn't even talk to them, I
Mm-hmm.
went through my Instagram, every single person that I knew at my school, send them a text that, hey, I'm starting this club and this is what this is about. Please come to
Mm-hmm.
our interest meeting. You
Mm-hmm.
have to do that. You have to be open. And none of my friends judge me for it even. So
Yeah,
when
it's
you really think that, oh my God, I'm just sending these like cold messages to all these random strangers that I don't even talk to, or they're just in my class, it's still good and it's still surprising because one day like another one of kid in my class was starting his own club.
Mm-hmm.
Like he texted one of my friends, he's like, hey, I know your friend started this club, can you she helped me with tips and guidance on how did she like publicize it and things like that. And I was like, even though this person didn't come to my club, I was able to help them in some sort of way because their message my message got to them even though
Mm-hmm.
I never sent them like I didn't even text them or reach out to them.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's like the key thing is just be passionate about whatever you do. At our school, we also have like we can get permission to put flyers around. So I made
Mm-hmm.
a flyer, I made a logo, printed that, put those around the school. I set up an Instagram account,
Mm-hmm.
made posts and things like that. Talk to anybody I know to help them publicize it and things like that. So it's always about just like being ready to put yourself out there. Take the risk. Worst comes worst. Someone will think you're just weird for sending them a text. So
Yeah, it does not. And I definitely agree with you. And I really like how you helped that kid. That's really noble of you. And I totally agree. Networking is so important and putting aside your fears about like being seen as weird is so important because nothing will ever work if you're gonna have that fear.
yeah.
So, can you share like a memorable success story or achievement of your organization?
Mm, let's see. I think the STEM kits are actually pretty good success that we're having right now. We put up our supplies, we got our supplies together, so we've actually just been putting together those bags, and it's just so like fun to see everybody like working in an assembly line with our instructions cut out and our little pieces. Like I pulled out pH paper and filter paper for different experiments. We wrote note cards, and I think that's just so fun to see like working together. And I think that's going to be like really exciting just to see everybody engaged and enjoying what they're doing. And I think clubs are not just about like doing work, it's also like a social hour. We
Uh-huh.
get to hang out with friends, meet new people, and like I said, I didn't have any friend that I co-founded with this. And so send out a form for leadership positions, like for whoever wants to apply can apply, and then I'll interview and get to know you. And now I'm working with this team, and it's kind of really nice to meet these new people. And I've really like built connections that
Mm-hmm.
other kids outside of my grade. I would like really suggest don't limit yourself to if you're a ninth grader, don't limit yourself to just being friends with ninth graders or just
Yes.
talking to ninth graders. Don't limit yourself to not talking to younger kids either because you don't know which eighth grader out there or which seventh grader is going to like have some crazy great idea and you want to be able to socialize with anybody younger older it doesn't matter because you're always going to learn some new experience new ideas and I think it's really important like I have there are these two sophomores that I by chance became friends with in my debate team and now they thought how committed I am and how well working I am that they want to make me a co-founder with them on a key club chapter that they're starting at our high school and I think that's just like it shocked me I was surprised that they chose me out of like all their friends that they have and I think it's just really important like make sure you're outside of your grade because you never know who will give you the next opportunity and who will see you like as the best person.
Mhm, I definitely agree. Wow, that's a great story, especially with the two sophomores. I'm a sophomore and I definitely adopted so many freshmen with my friends and I have a pretty large group of friends, I'd say. And like, I love how I definitely agree with the not limiting yourself thing. It's like I'm friends with so many juniors and honestly, I think that's teaches me a lot and I definitely encourage everyone out there to make friends with new people. Um, do you feel like you see any opportunities to integrate your organization's STEM roots like activities into the school curriculum?
I'm not sure if that's what we do is like for high schoolers, we're gonna make flyers for them to recommend them into taking
Mm-hmm.
STEM like curriculums and fields. I'm not sure if like we can affect the curriculum. It's more about we do plan on next year. We have a plan to reach out to the Board of Education for more funding and making sure there's equity between like like we have clubs at our middle school too that make sure that it's equitable across all middle schools that all middle schools have the same opportunity because like I stated the middle school I by chance ended up going to did not have like this math Olympiad competitions and science Olympiad stuff. But the other middle school that's literally like 5 minutes away from my house had all these things. They had all these
Mm-hmm.
competitions, all these events. And I feel like I want to make sure that I reach out because we can voice our concerns at the Board of Education. So our club is planning on making sure that we get a list ready and of things that we want to be
Mm-hmm.
changed specifically in like the middle school field. Because if you're not like if your interest isn't getting caught in something early, it's just gonna get harder and harder later on.
Yeah, definitely. Some people even lose the interest because, perseverance is hard when you don't have opportunities.
Yeah, and resources are really important to it's the right information at the right time that really like can take you
Mm-hmm.
everywhere. You don't need to go to college, you don't need to do these any of like you don't need to take things like the SAT even, but if you have the right opportunity, the right information, and you like know the right resources, you can start your own company today.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. So again, with starting an organization, there's a lot of challenges, and we talked about this, but have you encountered any resistance or skepticism from like trusted people near you on starting an organization, and kind of how do you address that?
It, to be honest, my best friends, they did not. They thought it was I was just like out of my mind.
Yeah,
You're a freshman. What are you doing with your life right now? This is completely like not okay, girl. You need to
yeah.
restart. You need to we need to put you back. And they did not actually end up joining my club, but other people did. And they also had other commitments, which I completely understand that they aren't able to make it. But I think sometimes even my parents, they were a little concerned about me overwhelming myself with work. So I wouldn't say that resistance, they were just more caring. They didn't want me to
That's exactly the same with my parents. Yeah.
yeah, they keep telling me, I think you're doing a little too much now, a little too much. And like I said, the teacher that approves it, she wasn't pretty interested. She did not, she did not like communicating. She did not like, she was already kind of tired. It's also because our school has very into athletics and she does like all the athletic program. So
Oh, okay, like coaching.
so she doesn't coach them, but she manages all the coaches, all the events, mission
Oh,
slips, everything. The entire
okay.
athletics department is under her, and all the activities, all the clubs are under her. So she definitely has way too much work on her
Hmm.
because she stays after school every day till 5 because either she has some game to attend for some sport, she has to look and observe all the coaches or things like that. So I wouldn't say she was like obviously against it. It's just she has so much of a workload and just more clubs, more activities. Like I'm still trying to get just our club's name put on our school's website, and it's so much work because I know she has to reach out to other people who edit the website, things like that. So I think that's a challenge that I really faced, like resistance from there. She did not really wasn't interested in it, not too much like engagement.
I think definitely a STEM versus sport, and I love that you're being like caring and also understanding her commitments. I think that's something so perceptive and intuitive and like great about you. But like you were talking about how you guys major more in like STEM awareness. Are there like specific narrowing STEM fields or technologies that your organization specializes in and hones in on?
We're mostly based on like science and technology. Those are our two main like topics, specifically getting kids into technology, into coding and those kind of things.
Mm-hmm.
So, like I said, with the STEM kids, we're mostly focusing towards science based, so like experiments and things like that. And we're actually having like a really well, like for the fair, we're hoping for like a technology based competition where kids can code their websites and apps and things like that. And we're going to have speakers come and talk about their experience.
Mm-hmm.
So I
That
think
sounds great.
those are the two most like expanding fields of the current day. And I specifically want to make sure that there are more girls involved in these STEM fields because I've seen it from my personal experiences. There are not very many girls in coding classes and things like that.
Yeah, definitely. I totally agree. Like representation is so important. I love that you're doing that. So obviously you're a very busy teenager, like your parents are concerned about it, but how do you unwind or relax after a challenging day at school or like working on your organization? And what tips would you give to others to unwind and relax after a tough day?
I like to play my violin sometimes. Like even though I take a violin, like I have violin as a class at school, but sometimes to me that's just like relaxing because we don't get that many assignments from that class. So I like to just play for my fun. I go back, I don't play the challenging pieces we're working on. I just go back and play like Jingle Bells or something or Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. It's sometimes it's just like smallest things, but I know I'm good at it. I'm confident at it, and it just makes me feel better right there. Like wow, I can really play this piece. I go back to old pieces I've played and I just go through them, run through them. Even if it's like an hour, I'm just playing old pieces. One, I'm improving my skill by just playing these old pieces. Two, it just makes me feel good. Like, yes, I can do something. I've got
Uh-huh.
something on track at least. You know,
No, I totally
everything
agree.
when the world's ending, I know I've got something on track. Like
Are there any other things you do, like hobbies and stuff that you think will like
I like to
unwind
paint.
you?
I like to paint and do origami. So those are like with having to choose between orchestra and art was really tough for me. It was like a decision I didn't want to make. But I chose orchestra because I had an instrument and things like that at home. But I love to paint in my free time, sometimes origami. I even did my like own YouTube channel when I was in middle school for origami and things like that. So
Mhm.
that's kind of like my personal like fun that I get to do. So I like to go shopping from time to time. Like shopping is always like a great stress reliever. I love to go buy things, anything. So
Me too. I totally agree. Shopping therapy is great. But how do you stay motivated during busy periods and how do you like do you have any go-to strategies for avoiding burnout, especially being very busy yourself?
I set my priorities really well. Like so that way I know like, hey, if I have this competition that's starting like that's next week, that will be my first priority. And I will set other things aside. Like if I know I have like a DECA competition or an FBLA competition in a month from now, and I know I have to study for it, but I see that there's this like one competition coming up in the coming week, I will set the other competition aside and I will first work on like the one thing that really matters at that moment. And then I'll just like take a break. And then maybe if I have time, I will move to the next like competition, next study, or whatever it is. I really just like to avoid burnout is like making sure you have like a set time schedule. It's that's the biggest thing that you can do. And go to bed at the right time. Do not lay in bed on your phone till 12 o'clock and then wake up at like 4 in the morning or 5 in the morning to go to school again. That's not good for you. No matter how much it's so tempting to scroll through like Instagram or snap people on Snapchat, it's so crucial that you just go to bed, find a time. Like for me, I go to bed at 10 o'clock and then wake up around like 6:45 so I can get about 8 hours of sleep. And I think if you're getting anything less than 8 hours, you cannot function properly. Like you can see it on my face when I don't get 8 hours of sleep and I don't like it. So that's why I try my hardest to like at least be in bed by 8 so then I can wake up on time.
That's great. Oh my God, I do not get 8 hours of sleep. I think like as you progress in high school, sleep just gets less and less important, which is obviously a problem with the school system. But yeah, I think for me, like I just stay up late working, but I definitely agree about the social media thing. I don't you have social media. I delete all my social media just because I feel like it just doesn't work well with me. But I feel like definitely, yeah, if you have it, make sure to like regulate it so you're not on your phone all the time. Definitely, yeah. And so you were talking a lot about the academic and extracurricular aspects of your life, right? What are like your favorite aspects of being involved in like the academic and extracurricular aspects? Like, what do you think it helps you get? Like, what do you think it helps you like maintain and like skills you gained?
I just like being good at school because it gives me like a personal sense of achievement. Like every time I'm able to solve this like math problem, get a good grade on the test, it like I can prove myself that I'm good and I'm doing something right. So I think it's just like a sense of personal achievement for me when I
Mm-hmm.
do well in my math classes or my English class or whatever it is. And like every time I don't get good points, every time I don't get good grades, then I see like, hey, I need to improve myself because something is definitely wrong.
Yeah.
And I think that's like why I keep going forward. It's also I see that education is like really important to get into a good college, get a good
Mhm.
job. So I think that's what it keeps me motivated. Like I want to be someone who has a great life, who's living in like a single family home, has money, and that's kind of like my goals of life, just like a simple life, but with like comfort. And I think that's what really keeps me moving forward while to study and learn. I also like participating in competitions and things like that because it's just like fun. It's
Yeah.
even though it's like studying and that's the work and there's so much stuff that you have to do, take notes, research, and all those kind of things. But I like going to the events themselves. I get to meet people from all around the county and get to see all my friends from different schools. And it just makes it like a fun day that I can hang out with my friends, even though there's the stress of circling
Yeah,
the right answer
definitely.
and doing it right. But I think it just lowers the anxiety when I get to see other people from different schools. And we're also like this environment in my like science Olympiad competitions and things like that are very nice. And like I went to my debate competition and I was going against these other freshmen in a different school that I hadn't actually really known. I'd seen them at a different like place at a different event, but we hadn't like talked. We just sat at the same table. And it was so exciting because we had so many connections. We knew similar people and it just made the environment so fun. Like we were going against each other, but we were best friends already. And
Yeah, that
it
sounds
really
amazing.
yeah, so I think it's just the environment is so fun and sweet, and nobody's like trying to kill you there, even though it feels like it. And it feels like, oh my God, when you're in the debate, it always feels like it that you're always like arguing against each other. You're saying the same opposite sides, but at the end, you guys are like hugging, hanging out together, making plans, and that's like the fun part of it.
Yeah. Would you say like you've talked a lot about your social life? Would you say like how do you maintain your social life with your stuff?
It's pretty challenging if I like say it's super challenging. I try my like absolute hardest to not plan anything for the weekends. Like
The what?
to plan anything on the weekends. Like I try to make sure everything I have no activities, nothing I do. Sometimes I do, and that happens, but I try my hardest to not have any organizational meetings or like events that I do on the weekends because I want to make sure I give that time to my family and my friends and make sure I have like a time to cool myself off from all the work and also make sure I get all my homework done that I have that too. Because most of the week I spend doing organization meetings and plans and things like that. So I like that. That's when I go meet with my friends and things like that. Also, I get done with schoolwork pretty fast during school even. So that's when I just like talk to my friends. We make plans. Like I have PE and health still right now, so we
Mm-hmm.
don't really do much in those classes. So I hang out then. Sometimes the club meetings are also just like a place I hang out. Like we work together, we're chatting, we're making plans, we're walking out to like the nearest store after school, but that's the kind of things that I do. Like I take time, like my house is right next to my school, so I always like can easily walk and back.
Uh-huh.
So it's much really like easy for me. And I just make plans for different events and things like that. So I still meet with my school friends from the middle school. I have like weekend plans. We go to the mall sometimes and things like that. So just making sure you set the times. Like for weekends for me, it's like big no. I don't want to do work really.
Mm-hmm.
And I try my hardest to make sure I avoid things
Yeah,
on the weekend.
that's great. I totally agree. So, are there like you've already talked a little bit about this, but are there like do you want to expand on like specific routines or habits you have that help you stay focused and energized throughout the school week? Like you've already talked about going to sleep early.
Routines, I actually don't have that very like strong routines that I really do. I mean, when I get home, I just like take a break, eat food, get to work, take a break, get to work. Also, find this odd, but I feel like it's really relaxing. I take watch 30 minutes of TV like every day. Like it's almost like a rule I set for myself. Like I need to take a break for myself and watch 30 minutes of some show or something while I'm eating dinner or something along those lines. So that gives me like a break at the end of the day to rewind and to be with my family. We always like have dinner together at the end of the day. So and we all watch TV and talk. So I think that's like really important, just having time with your family at the end of the day to like talk about any problems you're having, anything like that. Me and my sister sometimes just talk with each other about what's going on, so that's kind of fun.
Oh, how old is she?
She's in middle school, she's a sixth grader, so
Mm.
I think that's also kind of fun. I get to see how she's struggling with her little stuff and then help her out, and she just gets to listen to what I have, what all the homework I have, and it's kind of fun like that. But
That sounds great, Anika. Yeah, definitely. I totally agree. And like, I definitely agree having family time is important. Like, I definitely agree with the TV thing. People say like, oh, we shouldn't watch TV every day. I think you're watching an amount that is good for your routine. I think it's personally fine. And sometimes it's gonna be more. Like, there's gonna be some weekends where you're not as productive, and you're gonna watch like hours of TV at a time, and that's okay too. But yeah, I definitely agree with that. Watching at least 30 minutes.
yeah, I kind of need that. And that's like what keeps you going every day. It's like, okay, I watched something. I had some fun at least. So
Yeah, definitely. No, I totally agree. And I think that's um pretty much it. I don't have any more questions, but I just wanted to thank Anika Verma for joining us this week on our student interview series interview project. And if you are interested in getting interviewed by our team, please be sure to check out the form shared in the description link. And we're always looking for interested students, and we interview anyone between the ages of 14 and 22. But we will always make exceptions for grad students who are doing exceptional work in the STEM field. And we hope to see you back here next Monday for our next installment. Thank you so much.